shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand now on this higher ground, where love is just a sound.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Crystal here from Gecko Diva, and welcome to Coffee and Cresties. And I have a Tim Hortons this morning, which is a little outside of my podcast routine because I'm always kind of rushing around in the morning and I don't have time to go and grab a Timmy's, and I end up making myself a tea at home. But Nick is very generous and decided to buy us coffee this morning. So I got up a little extra early this morning to go and get some Timmy's and some muffins for the kids and stuff. So thank you to Nick. I hope everyone is doing well. I know it's Tinley weekend, so it's I'm sure a lot of busy weekend for a lot of breeders that are vending or even visiting Tinley. If some of you are maybe hopping in and joining in and listening on your drive there, thanks for joining. I'm sure we'll have quite a replay crew, given that it's a big show weekend. But thank you for those of you who've hopped on and joining live this morning. I appreciate each and every one of you. It's finally spring in Canada. So you probably hear my voice is a little off this morning. I've just got over a cold. Well, I wouldn't really say I've got over a cold because I still have quite the cough. And my friend right now is Fisherman's Friend because it's the only thing that's getting me through the days right now without having crazy coughing fits. So if I do cough today, I apologize in advance. So yeah, spring in Canada, everything's melting. I think we're getting a whole bunch of rain today. And I saw a couple posts where they were mentioning that it might melt. They're saying all the snow. I highly doubt it because we have quite a bit of snow here. So I think it depends on where you are in Ontario anyways, in the Ottawa area. But it is raining. It is raining this morning. My hair is pretty wet still. When I went out and got coffee, it's still raining and it's expected to rain all weekend. St. Paddy's Day weekend. So I know my husband and I, we have plans later to go have, a good old Guinness and some stew and my friend makes this Guinness chocolate cake, which is delicious. So it's been kind of a tradition that we go over to their house and enjoy St. Paddy's Day weekend on Sundays. So it's definitely going to be a fun afternoon. But you get me this morning first. So we get to have some fun and talk Cresties before spending the rest of the day, whether you're going to the show or you have other plans or you're going to drink green beer or whatever you're doing this weekend. Let's see who we have in the chat this morning. And we have Fat Man first in the house. Good morning, Chris. They had a really good show last night. It got pretty intense. I'm not going to lie, at some spots. I actually missed a bit of the beginning, so I was kind of catching up this morning. But Chris had quite a crew on last night to kind of discuss some of the blowback, I guess, that there's been having with people that were speaking up with the morph market checkmark situation. And but it was good, and there was a lot of different back and forth discussions. And he actually had Darian on last night to kind of chat about it too. So if you get a chance today, if you've missed it, go over to Fat Man Nation and check it out. It was live last night, and definitely had a pretty good conversation going there. Sorry. And we have Parkour Geckos in the house. Good morning. My hubby's in the house. Good morning. He's actually on his way with a nice big coffee, heading to the gym this morning. So he's getting his workout in. Amore Cresties in the house. Good morning. Got Sandra Larson in the house. Good morning from Sweden. I think you might be the first European listener on a live. So welcome. Very excited. I actually have an import again coming from Europe next month. So I'm very excited to share with you guys what's going to be joining Gecko Diva. But keeping it hush for now until I get to share it with you. Cassandra's in the house. Good morning, Cassandra. We got Kristen from Cresty Works in the house. Good morning. Rouge Rivers in the house. Good morning. And we're actually going to be vending together soon. This spring, there's a smaller expo, the Ottawa Valley Expo, that's going to be happening this spring. And we just booked our table or confirming our table. So we'll be there with you guys. And yeah, Sandra, woohoo, your first one. So why don't we kick this off? I'm going to bring up the tea time and we'll get this show started. So not gonna lie, I don't have much for tea time today. Like I said, I've been sick all week, so it's been very limited online. You know, when you get stretched so thin and you only have so much time and energy to put into things, it gets a little tough to keep up with what everyone's doing. I did mention earlier, Fat Man did have a really good show last night. If you want to go and catch that, Tiki's has been posting a lot of really awesome content lately as well, which has been awesome. Flawless 2 has been posting a lot of great content. So we are seeing a lot of really awesome stuff. As of late, people are being very, very active posting stuff online, which is cool. And the show season's kicking up, right? So we have Tinley this weekend. Flora Fauna's coming up. So we're going to see a lot of chatting and stuff coming up with that. The Gold Standard Gecko Club is coming up too at Flora Fauna, and they're adding gargs to it. So a lot of really exciting things going on. And the Canadian shows, I mean, we started them. We have our one-day reptile shows that have started this spring. There's another one at the end of this month. So there'll be more content coming from that as well, and kind of show you the Canadian side of things. But aside from that, the only thing I have for you is an epic promo for this awesome conference that's going to be happening next month.
It's called EPIC, the Exotic Pet Industry Conference, and it's free to register at epic.live. EPIC is over 20 special guests across 16 sessions covering industry trends, marketing, branding, podcasting, and YouTube. EPIC is for pet keepers and breeders. It's for gecko and invert lovers. It's for snake and spider lovers. EPIC is for anyone who enjoys these amazing animals. Did I mention it's free? Register now at epic.live.
So I mentioned it the last time, I'm a media affiliate with Epic. It's going to be a pretty awesome event. I know Chris is involved with it as well. And a lot of awesome guests. There's different streams that you can join. It's free to register. And you can always go back and check out other videos that if you were, let's say, joining one stream, you'll watch all the videos live, but then you can go back and rewatch the other videos of the other stream that you weren't a part of. So you're not going to be missing out on all the content, which is pretty awesome. And Gerald's giving you a shout out, Chris, for last night. Cassandra, big news I sold my first gecko. Awesome, Cassandra. That's great news. That's super exciting. It's always fun to sell your first gecko. So yes, we're going to celebrate that in tea time. Well done. And then Amore Cresty says, I've missed the last 2 expos where Nick was, and I've been so busy trying to study to get my NYS license for my new job, but I was so upset I didn't make it. He's always got incredible geckos at his table. Yes, and we're going to see some of those geckos today. He sent me some pictures of some updates and some projects that he's working on for this season. And Nick's Rouge River says Nick always brings the heat. And yes, he does, because he probably has the nicest tricolors I've seen anyways. So I'm going to give him that credit. So why don't we bring Nick on? Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. I saw you swaying in the background there
I
with a little morning jazz.
Yeah, the music had you going. Yeah. Cheers,
I
everybody. Good morning.
Oh, did you just flash your Timmy's?
I did.
So you got one nearby you too, eh?
We do, yeah. But we still got the roll at the rim.
Yeah, so clearly we ran out of cups, but you still have the app, and that's the one I don't use the app very often, but I did use it today. So I do have some. You get like the double roll, right? Because you have the cup roll, and then you have the one on the app that gives you an extra. Have you won anything yet this year?
A coffee, but usually, like you, the chances of winning this year seem to be slimmer than years past. So that's kind of unfortunate.
I think it just keeps. That's what. No offense to Tim Hortons, but it seems to be the thing. Every year, it's like you have less and less chance winning. I've known people who've gotten absolutely nothing this year, but I've been pretty lucky. I think I won like a handful of coffees and a donut. But you always wish that you just win that like more exciting prize. I remember a friend of mine won like an iPod years ago, and she was super excited.
Nice. No, coffee and donuts usually the only thing that I won. So you're like trying to be on a diet and you win a free donut. Of course, you got to go and get it like right there.
That's when I give those to my kids, and they're super excited.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you doing? I love the branding. You have all your fancy logo all in the background on your shirt. Looks great.
Yeah, trying to get the name out there, everything else. But yeah, this banner, you don't even want to see what's behind it. It's everything stacked up. So yeah, it looks nice right here. But yeah, don't look behind. It's like don't look behind the curtain, right?
That's funny. It's it helps cover up some stuff. Sometimes you need to kind of put a little backdrop. We were joking about it earlier because I was like, oh, I'm having a little pile that was starting right here of things I kind of had to move before we went live.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I'm building some tanks for next week's show. So behind us, or right where the camera is, you got newspaper and my dry lock and my paint and everything else. Because right after this show, I'm going to finish the second one.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Let's see what's Amore saying. My main breeder boy is from Nick. He's pretty much what got me into breeding. That's awesome.
Nice.
It's nice to hear things like that, eh? When you're hearing like that people got geckos from you and they end up being part of their one of their focus breeding projects and stuff.
Yeah, she lives right down the street, so she's always showing up to stuff, and she usually gets like first pick at a lot of the stuff that I have at the shows. So she's kind of lucky when it comes to having her selection on HKD stuff.
That could be really dangerous to live down the road from you. I feel like I'd be there and I'd be like, what do you have for me this week?
Yeah.
We got Bash Coder in the house. Good morning. My husband says I win $25. Oh, he won $25 off Skull Candy and a 3-month subscription to satellite radio. That's awesome. I didn't hear. He didn't tell me these things. It could be that I wasn't listening. Let's be fair. That just happened. And Cassandra says, I only won a coffee, but I went and lost the tab. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? At least they have them back. There was a time after COVID where they didn't have the roll-up cups anymore because they were worried because no one wanted to take the little tab on a cup in case you had your mouth on it, right?
Yeah.
So we only had
roll it up, right? With your teeth.
What's that?
You usually roll it up with your teeth gross.
Well, that's the thing. Most people will use their teeth to roll it up, and then they were like, "No, we don't want to take those roll ups anymore." So I think there was like a couple years. Was it 2 years where they only had the app? You didn't have any roll up cups anymore. People were ticked. Like a lot of the Canadians were like, really upset that they didn't have this roll up cup anymore, and it was just the app. So yeah, now we have the cups back, but I don't think they order as many because, as you can tell, we're already out. I think it goes to the end of the month.
Yep. So how you know spring is right around the corner? You get that
Roll up
roll.
the rim.
Yep.
Yeah, Morris says it is dangerous. I bet. So, before we pop into some gecko pictures, did you want to share anything? Is there anything new and exciting since the last time we talked? Did you get any new geckos? Any new projects? Or
No, I kind of just been growing up what I had. So I did a bunch of buying at the end of last year, in the middle of the year, whatnot. So growing things up and seeing if they're ready to be able to enter the lineup this year. And some of them were, and some of them aren't. So some I'm just trying to get ready for next season or whatnot. And some of them are. I think I started pairing early February.
okay,
So I have, I do my Find 'em Fridays to look for eggs. I still got a couple weeks before I get, have some good Find 'em Fridays.
yeah. Has anyone laid any eggs yet? Or
I think I have 3 sets, and I think they're holdovers from last season.
okay, yeah. No, I'm waiting, impatiently waiting. When you have some really exciting pairings too, you're like, come on. But yeah,
No,
pretty much all my pairings are done now. Like they've all been paired, but now it's the waiting game for them to start producing their eggs. I try to go through like a season. I know some people will have them all year round, right? And they'll pair like mid-season and stuff. For me, I tend to pair like in the winter coming into January, February, and then I'll start having eggs in the spring, and then they'll have eggs hatching all the way until like December, January.
yep, same here. I think it's the weather, though. It has a lot to do with, the humidity and everything else where we're at. You
Yeah.
can try to control things as much as possible, but, out there, outside these four walls, it plays a big toll in a lot of this stuff.
It does, and I do hear that is different for different people across the country, right? Like I find that people out in like California have a very different um experience than what maybe we have where we are. I have a little space heater here, so the room is in the basement, and it does get quite cool in the winter, which is great because I like doing a cool down.
Hmm.
But then I want to start heating things up so that they can start saying, "Oh, yeah, it's time to start producing eggs." So I'll start putting the heater when I'm in here, like doing like feeding and stuff to kind of bring up the temps a bit sooner than it would be with our regular temperature outside because it's been so cold.
Yeah,
I don't know.
same.
Do you do anything like that in your room or like any climate kind of control or?
Yeah, I was gonna do one of those heaters, but what I did is I adjusted my HVAC in the house, and so I have, believe it, we're right in where the furnace is. So I had the vent. I just turned that open, so that heats here before it heats the rest of the house. So it's usually in the lower 70s, unfortunately, in wintertime,
Yeah.
and when I cool the house, it's like the same thing. So usually my room is between lower 70s to 78 degrees all year long. So, but yes,
Awesome.
it does take a while before they really start producing. So like come April, that's when I'll start getting a lot of eggs, and it's just the season ends up being later than, like you said, I'm hatching out eggs. Probably December is like the last bit.
Yeah. We have Vet's Gex in the
Hey,
house.
what's
We
going
just
on,
started
guys?
getting our eggs from this season's pairing. That's
Nice.
good.
Yeah, we'll see them next week at Syracuse.
Awesome. Are they vending too or are they just coming to visit?
Yeah, they're like a couple tables down. So if we bring our Nerf
Awesome.
guns, we'll be able to hit them. So we'll snipe them from a couple tables over.
And Celtic reptiles in the house.
But
Oh my God, I'm going to start a coughing fit. This fisherman friend is not working. It's not being my friend.
double up.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing up some gecko pics and then you could take away more of the talking.
Sounds good.
All right, let's pop this up. What do we got here?
All
Because you
right,
got
so
some
this is
updates.
Yeah, this is a lineup from last season. Smoke Show is, of course, a Lemmy Vanya baby that we produced in house 2022. He won the Gold Standard Gecko Club last year at Flora Fauna. So last season was his first season breeding for us, and he, did well, very well, actually. We produced Paradise, who is a female at the bottom, in house as well. And she and him produced a ton of great babies, and so they will be available at Florifon. I think that's the plan. But on the side, I showed a bunch of pictures of some of the babies that they produced this season, so you can take a look over there and see what they got. Of course, they got that, that big head, great crown, head structure, and everything else. So I haven't been able to get too many updated pictures. I like to do them outside, and it finally started getting nice the other day. And then today it's raining. So
yeah, I hear you. It was the same. I got a picture for someone who was interested actually in a gecko, and I was like, oh, I can actually go outside and take a nice picture for them this time, because it went up to like 17 degrees yesterday, or I guess it would be 17 Celsius. I'm not about to start converting it, but yeah. But yeah, it was definitely really nice, and now we got the rain. But so the geckos on the right are those, I guess, hatchlings from this pairing,
Yeah,
right? Are
yes,
these going to be? Are these your holdbacks from the pairing, or are these going to be geckos? Any of these going to be available, or what's the plan?
So I have to. So the plan is to at least bring 12, at least 12 of Smoke Show babies to Florifana. And
Awesome.
then that would be the first available time for people to be able to go. If they're going to the show, first dibs. And then after the show, whatever doesn't sell, and then the stuff that I have that maybe was too small, I'll start growing that up and then start putting that on Morph Market. I think the plan works well for our weather and our shipping. May time frame is good here. I know everybody else is kind of lucky with better weather now than we have, but I think that's right now that looks to be the plan. So some of those I might keep back, but there's a bunch of them. I think the most babies I got this year are from Smoke Show in Paradise.
Awesome. How many hatchlings did you get out of the pairings with him?
I don't like counting how many geckos I have because like it changes all the time, and then I'm like, I think close to 30 this
Well, that's
season.
awesome. He had a great season then.
He had a
Have
good season. Some of the first time breeders, so like, and we'll talk about it later, but like Sundance, she would like lay one egg at a time, and so that was kind of rough. But yeah, he had a great season for us, and then I think next year is going to be even better. Talk about that today too as well.
That's awesome. You're finding like the hatchlings, have they been pretty fairly consistent? Or are you
Yes,
finding like more of a variation with what's coming with what he's producing, or
it's depending upon what I'm pairing him with. But like, yeah, it's a mix of both the parents and a lot of this stuff. But um, it's carrying over a lot of that bright orange that he has. And a lot of my geckos all have that kind of that head fringe, and so that's just been a trait that I've been working on for years.
yeah,
So like anything that I get usually that I bring in is gonna. I want to either if they don't have that, I want their babies to have that. So that I always bring them in for something different to kind of add to the direction that we're trying to go.
awesome. So let's see the next one here.
Yeah.
So
So
this would
this
be, go ahead.
So this smoke show again at the top, and that's Odyssey. Odyssey came from Chaz over at Zengex. I think Odyssey was a Jarvis and Goji baby, and so I've had her for a while. This is the first season that I paired him to her. Her babies always have really nice head structure, as you can see in some of those, and then they got that crazy tricolor look to them. I believe the ones that are on the right-hand side, I'll probably be kicking myself later, but I think I'm going to bring those three to the show.
Oh,
Those are
wow.
a couple that two of them are clutch mates, and then the other one isn't. They got some other ones too as well, but those are the three that I know for sure will be going. I think, I I pour sex them, but I'm getting old in my age, so my eyesight isn't the greatest. So I check them again before I go. But yeah, some of them show pores, some of them don't. So
And some of them will play tricks on you, and you think you
yeah,
see pores, and then you don't, and vice versa. So it does happen.
yeah, you hate to
Um,
guarantee something, and somebody's trying to get something specific for their projects, and then later like, this was supposed to be a male. You know what I mean? So I never
no,
guarantee. That's
no, of
moot.
course. No, like definitely carrying over that bright try though. They're so nice. Like
Yeah, have you
I,
seen
I
that
I
stuff?
really like the one at the bottom. That one's like my favorite little one. He's cute.
Yeah, I think that, and you're right. I did see pores on that guy.
Oh, it's cute. They have a little, almost like a head stamp, on some of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I have been saying, obviously, you can't guarantee anything, but from your experience, do most of your hatchlings keep their color and or get better color as they grow?
So that is one of the hard parts with like tricolors is, as they get older, some of that orange starts to fade. And so like with Limmy that I got him from JB Cresties. He was a bright tricolor orange when he was a baby, and then up after like 2 years, 3 years, it started to fade. But Vanya is from Emily Brookline, and they tend to keep that orange. And so based on Smoke Show, he still has that. What is he? Almost 3 years now. He still has that orange. So that is definitely something you want to keep working with. It's one of those things where just time will let you know, and then just keep working on it as well.
Have you started working, like, do you have, I can't remember if we talked about this the last show, but have you started bringing in like tangerine into your tricolor projects or?
I have not. Well, I have not. Maybe down the road. I
Mhm.
like the orange, but I also like the high white. So I'm very cautious what I bring in. But it's also like right now, this is the most amount of females that I've had paired before. So I need to see how I do with like, is it too much or am I being overrun? We have a lot of little shows, and unfortunately, little shows you don't sell out a lot. And then when you're holding stuff because the weather stinks, it's like right now I got more than I've had before. Then next year will be the same thing. So, that's kind of thing. So if I do add anything and it's a female or whatnot, I need to like let go with something just to see and make sure it's manageable for me.
Yeah. I think you may have made a sale on the show already.
Oh,
Kristen from
awesome.
Crusty Work says, "Can I claim the top one?"
So that's the hard part because I've had so many people wanting after I won, the Gold Standard Gecko Club with Smoke Show, wanting to be put on a wish list or wait list, and I just honestly, I didn't know how things were going to pair out and all that kind of stuff. And I want everybody to have a fair shot at them. So I think that's where hopefully come to Florafana. They'll be there. Take a look, take your pick. First come, first serve, and then afterwards, I'm gonna put on Florafana, or put it on Morph Market. But there are babies. I have a lot. Like I said, we're producing things out until December. So even if I don't think they're big enough, then there'll still be stuff throughout the summer that will be available as well.
Kristen, I don't know if you're going to Florafana this year. If you're not, then take a screenshot and send it to someone to shop for you by proxy. That way they can, scoop it up. Yeah. My husband says draw numbers. Here, we'll go to the next pick. And I remember we talked about Toxic Ooze. This is a nice
that's,
pairing.
that's from Enza Reptiles. That thing is he's a crazy looking gecko. Not the best head structure, so that's one of the things I'm trying to kind of improve with putting her to Smoke Show. And so that's one of the things where I just want to see how the head structure develops on both those babies, but they have that cool pattern to them. It seems like they take a little bit more of the mom, her traits than they do, Smoke Show.
It's cool, but you get a lot of that almost like tigering, eh? Kind of
Yeah,
comes
exactly.
up and
Like
around.
the extreme, yeah, the extreme pattern to them.
Very cool. And then what do
So
we have here?
So that is Smoke Show on the bottom, and then that is Sundance on top. Sundance came from Emily Burke. We got her a couple years ago. Thankfully, she goes to this reptile show up here, Rexpo, and usually I'm stalking her table for a little bit, and then I make a couple different trips. But I wanted something different that she had to offer, and that extreme was really nice. Unfortunately, last time I paired those two up, Sundance decided to drop her tail, and so now she's a little
Oh
frog.
no.
Yes. But yeah, she, for whatever reason, last year's her first season being paired and breeding, and she would just lay one egg at the time, so that was unique in itself. So I don't have as many babies with her, but I did produce probably my favorite. I gotta be quiet. I don't want to offend any one of these geckos, but my favorite baby last season. And that will probably be the next picture. It's amazing. It's a really crazy orange. Yeah, that
Oh
thing.
wow. So that's from this pairing.
It is. Yeah, that is probably my favorite. I really like what that thing's got going on, and I have a feeling that
Wow.
side is going to turn bright white, and I love how when you have something that's bright orange, it follows through in the tail, and you could always tell if it's got that orange trait by that tint that it brings down on that tail.
Yeah. No, and it pops already, eh? The like the white that kind of peeks through.
Yeah, that thing's little too, so it's like a highlighter looking when you see it in person. It's crazy.
And that white on that side is just gonna explode. Like it's gonna spread.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that they produce that looks like that. I mean, he's still
Okay.
the other babies have that wild color, maybe a lot more white than the mom does. But that thing is different, and when it hatched out, it was different. So I knew like that thing is not going anywhere. So I'm trying to at least keep like one of my top geckos from each one of his pairing, just to kind of see how things go, and go from there. And that's definitely, that one's not going anywhere.
That's awesome. Welcome to the show, Mother of Geckos.
Hey,
Driving to work this morning, so just listening in. Well, thanks for joining.
go on.
Cassandra says it's very pretty.
Thank you.
And Celtic says I paired up Felix and Julia Frostline and Emily Burke tricolor, and I'm excited about it. That's awesome.
Nice. Perfect. Yep.
Yeah, I one of my most like one of the pairings I was most excited about last season also was a female only gave me like one egg at a time, and I only got 3 eggs for the whole season that made it to hatch, and all 3 of them are drastically different from each other.
Yeah.
And it's from my green project too, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm really excited to see what I'm gonna get. So he has a more than one lady this season, so we'll see what comes from it. But it's always those ones that you're like really excited to see what's gonna happen. And it's like, oh, what do you mean you're only giving me one egg?
I know. I have little. So I'm doing kind of like the Robbie reptile. I got my bins, and then they're semi-bioactive. So like on the Find 'em Fridays, I need to really check, because some of the ladies like to just lay it on top of that egg crate instead.
Yeah.
And bed, you like, if they're only laying one, you really gotta look.
But at least you have the egg crate, right? Because I had one season where I had tried to do some bioactive, and I didn't move the females out of the bioactive ones. Some of them stopped using their lay box, and they would go lay it in the dirt under the bark, right? So then you have to be really on top of it, because then you have issues with isopods and so on, right? Like they say the isopods aren't going to touch it, but if your humidity is not like where it needs to be, sometimes the egg will get impacted from that, and then you'll have the isopods go and kind of impact the eggs. So that's the experience I had anyways with it. So that's why all my females now they're on cocoa chip.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
they'll still bury it in the cocoa chip, but at least it's easier for me to find, and I don't have to worry about the other stuff.
It's always those dwarf whites, and they find their way into every bio tank that you have.
Yeah. Was it someone was calling them as a devil's rice? The nickname for them because they're just everywhere.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to start using that.
You're like, oh, damn, the devil rice. It's in another enclosure.
They're back.
Dave's in the house. Yeah, I caught you live. Loving your show from the UK. Awesome. Thanks. And I just mentioned that your mic seems to have amazing acoustics. Oh, I appreciate it. But the issue is that guest's volume isn't completing with yours. Oh no. Is anyone else having I'm not sure I follow what the issue with the volume is. Is one too loud compared to the other? Is that the problem? I'm not sure I'm following. Maybe someone can put a comment in there if there's any sound issues. We'll bring up a couple more comments in the meantime. Smoke Show and OMJ Babies is where it's at.
Yeah, and I didn't show any of those today, but those are nice.
We got love that one on the screen. Sheesh. Yeah, it is. It's really nice. And then bioactive, you can lose a bunch of eggs if you're not on top of it. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? You have to be on top of it. About 50% of your volume. Okay, so my volume's louder. Should I guess I can just turn? I don't know if I can just turn my volume down. Let's see. Is that better, guys?
How about now?
Let's see. Well, we'll see. We'll keep talking.
All right, sounds good.
My side, it's happened before where my side's loud. It could also be that I'm very close to the mic and I'm being loud.
And I'm used to
I think I can update the setting. Hold on here. Settings, audio. Thanks for letting me know. Mic volume down. Let me know if that's better, everyone. We definitely want you to be able to enjoy it and not have it loud and then not loud, right?
like
okay,
this,
awesome.
and then this.
Yeah, well,
and
that's the
this.
problem. And it's a learning process, right? Like a learning process, because I had last season, I guess my intro song coming into it was really loud, and then when you come back, the volume would go down. So I dropped the volume on the intro so it's not like blaring in people's ears first thing in the morning. And my husband is right. I am always yelling, and it could just be me that's very loud. Because my mic volumes are pretty low as it is to offset that, but I've lowered them. And I will be less loud today. All right. And I think there's another one. So tell me about this one.
So that one is it is one of the toxic ooze babies as well. So you could check out that pattern on it. I think it was the picture back couple was the same baby. It's just this is a different side of it and whatnot. But it has that crazy pattern. Yeah, I think it's the one on the top.
These ones?
Yeah, it's the one on the top.
Okay. Awesome. And yeah, you can see the white coming right up from the belly, eh?
Yeah, I love that trait.
Parkour is saying, how many banks do I have to rob on my way to Flora-Fauna to get another smoke show baby?
Oh, no, they won't be too expensive. You know, that's the hard part, is trying to decide on what the price point would be. You know what I mean? It's always that give and take. But it'll be the first time with these babies. So, you know, you won't, maybe one bank on the way there.
There you go. More Cresties. I use moss as well, but sometimes they will lay on their enclosure floor. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I have hide boxes with moss in it, right? And you'll have some that like to use it, and you have other ones that just like to find under a piece of bark or branch, and they'll go into the cocoa and lay under there. And Kristen's calling you a tease.
Sorry.
So let's prop up some pictures. You sent me pictures of some pairings for this year,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And so that's Smoke Show. He's going to be paired to, I have one ready to breed cap, and that is her. She's got some sick dance moves, hence the name. And she came from Ruby's Reptiles. I got her at Flora-Fauna last season.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be the first time that you're pairing these guys this season. So it'll be kind of experimental to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I want to see what that tricolor of his does with the cappuccino. See how things look. I know I'm
Awesome.
late in the game when it comes to cappuccinos, but I'm really weird when it comes to jumping in on morphs.
Yeah, well, we've seen some really cool kind of like orange caps that have come out, right? And red caps and stuff as of late. So um I think it's one of those things that there's potential to make some
Mhm.
really cool things. And people are now just really starting to use these different morphs in um specific like targeted projects where they're looking to push the boundaries of what it can do. And that's when you're starting to see, like, I've seen some really crazy tiger caps
Mhm.
come out, right? And stuff. So it'll be really neat to see how that's going to work into like a high white, tricolor project or, and also bringing in that structure into the caps, right? Because that's the other thing we're finding is like the caps don't necessarily have the nicest structure, and that you're getting caps now that are having much nicer structure that are now starting to get produced for sure, especially with like the fraps and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Celtic says I'd love to see him back to a sable.
I know that's the thing. Got to take time. Don't want to rush into all the, everything. But yeah, no, I was looking at jumping into Sable last season, and then I decided that maybe I will go the cap route, and so I reached out to Treehouse Janine, and I got two nice babies from her.
I have to say I love the name Ray Gun.
It's from that Australian break dancer.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say, did you name her after that, or was it already Ray Gun and it just so happened to be?
no, I absolutely like I took her out for pictures the one day, and she was running around, jumping around, doing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, those are some sick moves. I'm like, I got a name for you.
That's awesome. I love it. Parkour Geckos says, have you done the Lily Smokehouse pairings, and how are you looking? How are they looking if you have?
Yes, so I have a female. Oh my Josh. And so that's what Vescess was talking about earlier. And she has like that solid dorsal on the back, but she's a yellow lily white. And so I paired them this year. And all but one of their babies was lily white. So I hit the numbers
Wow.
pretty well at that. And the majority of them have that solid back dorsal. I think only one does not, and they look amazing. So I'll probably bring two, maybe more to Florifauna.
Okay.
But there's some one. I think two of them are going to be yellow lily whites, and the other ones look tricolor to me.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
And tell
So
me about this pairing.
yeah, so the top one is from Noah Bounds. I got him last season. Um, that one's got some amazing like yellow oranges pattern on him. And so he is breeding with a lot of the my stuff that I held back that it was female. And then Vanya is she's one of my OGs. I got her from Emily Burke back in the day, and she's been paired to Lemmy for 4 seasons, I think.
Okay.
And she is the mom of Smoke Show. And so this season I wanted to try something different. And so I paired those two up, and hopefully we get some eggs in the next month and a half, and see what they do. So I'm excited to see what that pairing does.
It's awesome. Flashbang has a crazy head on him.
Yeah, I got to be careful if it's windy outside. That thing will take off.
It'll take off like a kite.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, have you bred Flashbang yet, or is this? Sorry, I didn't catch if it was his first season or.
Yeah, no, it's his first season. Yeah, I picked him up
Okay.
last year.
Okay, so you'll get to see if he passes it down, and you're gonna have a whole bunch of little hatchlings with massive heads.
Yeah. Yeah, as long
That's
as I want
awesome.
that highlighted crest on them, that's the
Yeah,
only thing that I want their babies to have that he doesn't have.
yeah. Well, and she has it, right?
Yeah.
So
And she passes it down all the time.
that's awesome. Flashbang and hot flash. Love it.
Yes. So yeah, so Hot Flash is from Nova and Nemesis. I have Genesis and Nemesis. They're clutch mates, and so those are holdbacks that I had that bred last season, or maybe 2 seasons so far. And then he's already paired with her, but look at that head structure on her. So those babies are gonna be phenomenal. Can't wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah, those are going to be pretty wild, eh?
Yeah, and she's a
And
big girl, so they're both pretty big geckos. So hopefully that carries over as well.
when you're pairing like tricolors, like because I guess flashbang would be a more of a lighter
Yes.
orange, right, with the tricolor. What do you find consistency like with your pairings? Do you find that they tend to end up being more bright orange when you're pairing to like a darker orange, or like what are you finding like tips and tricks, I guess, when you're pairing tricolors?
So this is the first time that I'm pairing something light like him, but I
Okay.
guess my Josh, she's a yellow, and so I paired her to Smoke Show. But the babies are still kind of too small to see what that,
Yeah.
and they're lily white. So like majority of their pattern is that bright white. So I'm
Hmm.
just trying to see what the rest of it's going to turn. But like I said, two of them look like they're going to be yellow. But it's that weird age where they finally start showing their colors a little bit. So it's hard to tell. Like
Yeah.
Hot Flash, her and her clutchmate both hatched out and they were phenomenal. I take pictures and I'm like, I'm keeping this one. And then Hot Flash wasn't the one I planned on keeping. And then as she got older, like that white just crept. And I'm like, oh God, I ended up then selling her clutchmate, which just seemed to have more orange on it, but didn't have that highlight crest. And that's like one of the things I really want my stuff to have, is to have that white, right on that crest. And it almost like, how like a Frappuccino is, like how
Yeah.
that fringe just creeps towards the middle of the head. That's one of the traits that I want to carry over in all my pairings.
That's awesome. We got Sly Kitten joining in the house. What a beautiful sight to wake up to. Little hard
Uh,
eyes. And Vetsgex says, love flashbang. He's very nice.
Thank you.
It'll be really cool to see um, what he'll produce this season for you, eh? We'll have to have another update and then see the hatchlings from this season.
Exactly.
Amori says, I think my boy Espresso is related to Hot Flash. Maybe just one parent. I can't remember. You'll have to connect and see. Maybe there's some relation there.
Probably Genesis, Nemesis, either or. They're very similar.
And we got another pairing with Flashbang.
Yep. So this one is the year that I produced Smoke Show, I kept two of the Lemmy Vanya babies. And that was the second best was Mirage. And so this season we paired these two. And you see their colors very similar.
Yeah.
She has more of that, solid white on the side, and that tends to be the Lemmy and Vanya, the carryover from Lemmy. So we'll see what happens there, but that should be a nice pairing.
That's
I
awesome.
hate waiting. It's the weight game, right? So you put them together.
Yeah, well,
and
that's the thing, right? You're like, I'm excited. I think it's going to be like this, but you don't know until you start producing. And then you'll start producing stuff. And depending on what they hatch out like, then it's the waiting game to see what they'll grow into, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll have stuff that you're like you said, you're like, no, I didn't see it as a holdback. And then they'll hit, 15, 20 grams. And you're like, yeah, that's a holdback.
Yeah. Or that you bring it to a show and you put it on there and it's nothing, and then somebody buys it, and 6 months later they're sending you pictures, and you're like, no, why did
Yeah.
I
So
do that?
my red lily, the empty back lily that I have, lily pool, I had her listed. Like she was one of the lily group that I had for sale, and I had brought her to an expo and she just wasn't selling. And then I was like, okay, well, it's winter. I'll just take things down. We're not going to sell anything. And then she grew into like this stunning red lily that I
Yeah.
was like really happy that she didn't sell. I'm like, you're staying now. And I'm like, and I'm happy that I didn't sell you because you're awesome. And that does happen, right? Like
Yeah.
And like you say, sometimes you sell them, sometimes you don't, and then you've lucked out and you're like, oh, thank God I didn't sell this gecko.
I know you try to educate yourself, like to be able to tell what they're going to be when they're little. So you go to
Yeah.
other people's tables and you're like, oh, okay, but every once in a while, you still get surprised and like, dang, okay, that one's staying.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you don't know, like some of my stuff out of the pixel pairings that I did,
Yeah.
that are Posset pixel, what they look like now is nowhere near what they looked like when they hatched. Like I have one that hatched out and just looked like it was going to be a tiger.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, around 12 grams, you start getting pattern that's coming up the sides and down the dorsal. And I'm like, hey, where's all this pattern coming from? I thought you were just a tiger. So, I mean, it's a waiting game. Celtic says, the wait time is painful.
Yeah.
It is. It's the joy of, breeding Cresties. I mean, my husband breeds ball pythons. There's no waiting game there. Once they come out of the egg, you have a pretty good idea of what you have.
Kind of like leopards too, right? Leopard geckos
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with the Cresties, like you have to take your time unless, like, if you care about holdbacks and working on developing projects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just reinforcing my decision to hoard everything back until 15 to 20 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's smart.
So who do we have here? Another smoke
So
show pairing.
yeah, so this is Smoke Show, and that's Opal. Opal came from Guy's Geckos or Gui's Geckos, up in, I think he's in Massachusetts. He has enough amazing stuff. So if you guys haven't checked his stuff out, check it out. He does a lot of pairings with Emily Burke and stuff like that too as well. But he posted this gecko online last season, and I knew it was a female. I'm like, you know what? That would be cool to see what her pattern and then his color does together. And the cool thing is that so I had him ship it. In the air, she decided to lay eggs. So she was paired last season to one of
Okay.
his, and so I had. She was in, her sphagnum moss and whatnot. I'm like, what the heck? Oh. So I got a little bonus. There's a little roll up the rim when you get a gecko, right? And so those babies actually hatched. So those are staying back. But yeah, a lot of his stuff, his trait that he really works on is that pattern. You just see how it creeps up and creeps down. It's crazy. So we'll see what those two do. But excited to see how that works out. But they've been paired already this season.
That's awesome. Did you hatch out your little roll up the rim?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Yep. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I
So
think
yeah.
maybe they hatched out late November, December timeframe. They're behind the banner, so I can't see them.
I mean, and that happens. I mean, you get a lot of breeders will wait, right, until the females aren't producing any eggs anymore and stuff before they ship.
Yeah.
But like sometimes that'll happen and they haven't produced anything, and then 2 months later you'll get them and
Yeah.
they'll produce them here, and it's
Yeah.
from the pairing before. I mean, that does happen. It's wild that she laid them en route, though.
I know. I'm like, open it up. I'm like, what? Oh, okay. I'll take that.
A little surprise.
Yeah.
Buffalo sauce. I love this one. So bright.
Yeah, he is from Genesis and Nova. Nova came from Hidden Valley. So one of the things I normally do is I have my geckos that hatch out, and then I hold the females back, or I hold a male back, and then I got to find something that's comparable that I know will do well with my stuff. And so he was one of them. He was a nice orange male. And so I paired him to Genesis and Nemesis, and they're paired again this year. And this is from Buffalo sauce came from Genesis and Nemesis. And that orange, it's just like when you're eating, chicken wings, that sauce on your fingers or whatnot. And then Toxic Ooze has an orange that's very similar. And I want to make something different than just, having that solid dorsal. I want more patterning. And so these two are very comparable as long as he can then pass on that head fringe. And I love how his like that white just starts creeping towards his head. Like I was saying earlier, it's definitely something I'm hoping to add to the collection a little bit more.
That's awesome. And I think, is that the last? Yeah, so that's the last pairing that you sent. What's the pairing that you're most excited about out of all the pairings? Is there one that you're like,
I don't
no,
think so.
you're excited about all of them? I mean,
Yeah.
that's good that you're excited about all of them, right?
But it's always the ones that you're super excited about that disappoint you. So that's why you put
Yeah.
a bunch together that you really are excited about. So hopefully, you get maybe one dud there or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Touche. I guess that's a good point, right? If you get too excited about something, then you're just setting yourself up for disappointment at times, right?
Exactly.
So you sent a slide of where you're going to be for show season. So you're going to have some shows. Like, do you vend a lot, or
Yeah, we do. My son sells 3D prints, and it's a good opportunity for us to get out of the house, like the weather and everything else.
Yeah.
And he's a better salesman than me. So it's, sometimes I sell better on Wharf Market. That seems to be easier to, kind of help put your name out there and your geckos and stuff like that. But I like
Mhm.
going to shows. I like running into people. I like seeing other breeders. It's kind of just like, almost like Christmas morning every time I go to a show. So I like going to shows. It's fun for us. It's good, bonding time or whatnot. So yeah, I do a lot of shows, more than I probably should. And it seems like more shows keep popping up in this area, so it's like, why not go?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the kickoff, and so I already did like 3 shows this year. But this is the big spring blast, so to speak. And so next weekend we're going to Syracuse at the Salt City. We have one
Okay.
table there. The following weekend, we're going to Rochester at Rexpo, and we got one table there. Then we're going to a newer show that our friends that are local here that own Avalon Exotics are putting out, and that's going to be in Hamburg, and we have 2 tables there. And then, of course, the big Crested Gecko show, and going to be the first release of the Smoke Show Babies, will be May 3rd to the 5th at Flora in Windham, New York. So that'll be exciting.
Awesome.
Can't wait for that one.
I'll have to look at that Salt City because Syracuse isn't far from us.
No, it's a good show. It's a good venue. This is the second time us going there. So
Okay.
we had a blast. We did really well last year. So we're excited to go. Plus, we got a lot of, friends that don't usually come all the way, to Western New York, because that's a good 2.5 hours for us that've been there. So it's a good time to kind of catch up and hang out with some of those
Awesome.
guys.
Celtic is saying, I'd love to see buffalo sauce with a sable.
Yep, the Sable thing. We'll see how this season goes and see what we
Well,
want to do.
and if you get into the sable too, right, it might be something young that you have to grow up. You might
I
have to
know
give it some time.
that's the hard part, right? Keeping your collection small, and then once you start mixing into more, it's like, oh, put this with that, and put this with that, and I love tricolors. So even if tricolors are just tricolors and not tricolor lily whites or tricolor caps or tricolor sables, like that's kind of the direction I would want to go. I'd rather
Yeah.
spend money on an amazing tricolor that's unrelated to my stuff than a sable, because
Yeah.
it's just stand the test of time. And somebody that has a sable might want to pair it with something super nice, that isn't, one of those high end morphs.
Fair enough. Amor is saying, can't wait to see what you produce this season, Nick. I'll be needing one from one of these pairings. I've got around 9 coming in right now, but I'm getting my own gecko room finally. Awesome.
Nice, Christina.
That's in Gex says, can't wait for Flora. So is there plans on you competing again in the Gold Standard Gecko Club this year? Like, do you have an animal you might enter or?
So yeah, I've been kicking back and forth trying to figure this out. The hard part with that is geckos coming up on age, because there's certain
Mhm.
rules. They have to be a certain age, they have to be a certain weight. You have to be
Yeah.
bred them, you have to provide lineage of, their parents and everything else. So there's a lot of like criteria that they have to fall into. I've been kicking around a couple of them, but unfortunately it's the weight thing, right? So
Mhm.
if they're like teetering on being, if they're a male, they got to be 40 grams. They're teetering on that 40 grams, and then you take them and you travel with them, and maybe they lose a gram, and all of a sudden they're disqualified.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things, with buffalo sauce. He teeters on high 30s, 40 grams.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the thing right now. And then I don't know if I need to bring smoke show this. I got to talk to David about things, but we still got some time.
Oh, to have like a reigning champion present for.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
posted something the other day, just saying, "Hey, what does everybody want to see there?" That kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so we'll see. But it's hard now because I don't want him to leave here. Things happen when you
Yeah.
travel and everything else, and God forbid,
Yeah. Yeah, I
he's
hear you.
real.
And it is tricky with the weight too. Like, and I don't know if you have or if other people have similar experience, but I know I have two specific males here that in breeding season, they're not as hungry and they don't want to eat. And then they tend to kind of go down in weight. And I have to and I've mentioned it before where I have one specific diva in the crew that around breeding season, I have to hand feed him like with a little syringe because he has no interest. But I will say, that I was able to get my hands on Vitameal, and I fed it to the whole group for the first time this week. And this little diva of a male cleaned his bowl on his own and loved it. So that was kind of it was kind of positive to see that. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get my hands on more of this. Have you tried Vitameal yet? I know it's been pretty popular right now in the States, eh?
I have not. I always like to wait to see how things go and what
Yeah.
people's take is on stuff before I, jump over. But what flavor were you working with on that one?
I tried the cricket one so far,
Okay, okay, okay,
which has a pretty high protein
okay.
compared to the other ones. But yeah, so far I've tried the cricket and it's been a pretty good success. A lot of my picky eaters were the ones that clean the bowls, surprisingly.
That's good to know. Yeah, I know that's the hard part with the picky guys. It's like, okay, more crickets and everything else.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, or
If
that's
they'll
what
take it, because sometimes they don't like bugs either, right? And then you're having to blend it in their food.
yes, that's the other option as well. Yes.
Celtic saying my geckos were 50-50. And Morris says I've been debating on trying Vitamel.
Hmm.
I'm just excited to be able to get it in Canada.
I know.
So, all right, because we're so limited, and I feed Rapashi is what I usually feed. And they get to be picky, right? They tend to gravitate towards one flavor more than the other. My gang is really into the grubs and fruit one. That's their
Oh,
favorite.
yeah, I
Is
try
there
to.
one specific one that your guys like, or?
No, I mix it so that it's always something different. So there's,
Yeah.
with the breeders or the juveniles, I have the growth formula from Pangea. Then I'll mix some
Yeah.
Rapashi. Never the same stuff, so that if they are picky, what I mean, they have to figure it out. That, and when you sell a gecko and somebody only feeds one type, they're kind of more able to try other things than if I only fed one
Yeah.
flavor all the
Yeah, same. I have basically all the Rapashi flavors and I try to rotate through. But there tends to be like the grubs and fruit is the one that I find has the best response on all of them because sometimes some of them don't like it, but then they'll like another flavor, but they all kind of seem to like that one flavor. But yeah, and it depends on the season and it depends, if it's a hatchling or an adult and if you're breeding and what's going on. There's so many different factors. And I think that if you have when you're having a manageable size collection where you're not needing to necessarily get outside help, it's a little bit easier because you get to know the geckos and you'll know like the little like specialty that each one has, or you can kind of keep track of it a little bit easier.
exactly. Like which one's gonna poop in the food dish?
Yeah. Oh, I know which one of this get out of this whole group, which one if I hold. Stowaway will always poop on me, and I know she will the moment I pick her up.
It's like the lychees. Yeah, I got one plant looking at me right now, planning my demise. So
Parkour geckos, yes, there is a gold standard gecko club this year. So there is going to be one at Florfana, and I think he mentioned he's going to be looking at doing a second one at another show later in the season.
yeah, Gargs and Cresties this year.
Yeah. It's awesome. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Celtic says on Vitameal 50/50 on it and try the fruit. Yeah, so I have the fruit. That's the next one I'm going to be trying. And saying I do mixes as well, different flavors every feeding. And you know what? And that's the easiest way, especially for clients, right? If you have a lot of animals going to pet clients, you don't know what they're going to have access to in food. So it's nice to have them all kind of have at least an exposure to a variety of different flavors. And I'll add fruit to my gecko food too. Yep. That's something I do. I've tried fresh fig once in food and they did not like it.
Yeah, the lychees didn't mind it. I hand fed it to them though. Right off the tree, because I had a little, fig tree in the backyard.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I figured they'd go nuts for fig because you have the flavors that are fig, and Rapashi just came out with a new flavor that's fig as well, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they were not a fan of the fig. And it was a Tiki's just did a video recently where he had little cups of different fresh fruit and had them all try the fruit to see which ones they liked and which ones they didn't. That was a fun video.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. Yeah, I saw that it popped up on my feed, but I didn't check it out yet.
It's fun. It's funny to see what they'll like.
Yeah. We've got access to all that good fruit down there in Florida.
Well, yeah, of course, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything that you want before we close up the show? Anything you want to kind of promote or push? I mean, the big news is that there's going to be some smoke show babies at Florfana. So if anyone's able to go out there and catch or send somebody to shop on your behalf, that's going to be the place to be.
Yep, that'll be May 3rd to the 5th. So I believe the show is Friday and then Saturday.
Awesome.
And I know they're having issues with their website, so I think they just put it up. It's fixed. So go ahead and check it out. Get your passes and everything else, and plan your visit.
Awesome. And who knows? Maybe you'll find a sable while you're there vending.
That's a thing. Depends on how well you do, right?
Hey, you'll find something that it as long as it works with the tricolor project, right? As long as it's going to be something that's going to fit with what you're already done. I know it's hard. I sit there too and I struggle when I see certain animals. I'm like, oh, that'd be really nice to add. And then I have to kind of sit and think, I'm like, okay, well, what are my actual core projects and how is this going to work with my core projects? And does it make sense?
Yeah, I have to walk by the tables and be like this.
Yeah.
Don't look. And then all of a sudden you saw a couple babies and you start clearing stuff out and then you start like looking like that and you're like, all right, go back to the table until later.
I know last season I hatched out
so many.
Sorry, go ahead.
That show has so many nice, options there too.
Yeah. No, I've hatched out some tricolors this past season and tricolors is not one of my projects, but I could tell you it's really hard wanting to let any of these go because I'm like, well, I could use it in my soft skill project, or you're trying to like justify reasons to keep them. I'm like, I can't keep everything.
Exactly.
But sometimes they just pop up in some pairings and you don't expect it. Like I am keeping one tricolor for sure. It randomly popped up in my pixel pairing.
Nice.
And I'm super excited about that one. But what's that?
You have to send me pictures of it.
Yeah, I will. It's pretty neat. It's pretty vibrant orange, and I'm like, okay, well that'll work in my pixel pairings in the future for sure. Yeah, Parker is saying that's the hardest part, trying to stay focused on the projects, right? Especially with all the new stuff that comes out.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. We've hit the hour mark. Super excited to see what you're going to do with the tricolor stuff that you're doing this season. And thanks for sharing some of the grow outs that you have. It's kind of neat to see the progress, right? And and you produce some really friggin' wicked tricolors for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the coffee, and I will see you backstage.
Nice.
Do you have any socials you want to pitch for people who didn't catch the last episode?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. That's probably where we are. Even if after Florifana, if you can't make it to Florifana, I will then take pictures and updates and everything else, and then post things on Morph Market to ship out. Unfortunately, right now I'm only shipping in the continental United States. The plan is to later be able to figure out how to ship elsewhere. But I will be putting things on Instagram, letting people know, hey, and Facebook, when I'll be pushing stuff out onto Morph Market and then start shipping.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining, and I will see you backstage.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Good morning.
Thanks everyone who stuck around and watched the live. I appreciate you. For those of you who are going to catch the replay later, I appreciate you also. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave it down in the comments space. Thanks for putting up with my volume issues and my coughing, because it's been great, but we made it through the episode without a crazy coughing fit. So pretty proud about that. And I will catch you guys next Sunday. So I have a show next Sunday and a show the following Sunday. Schedule was posted, but it's all on YouTube, and I will be sharing some more details soon. And thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great Sunday, great St. Paddy's Day weekend. Be safe, enjoy your weekend and the rest of your week, and I will see you next Sunday.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.